What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you guys back on the channel. On today's episode, we'll be looking at how color is accurately represented in fashion. Think about this. Think about wanting to have a red colored dress or a blue colored pants. How do you actually represent what blue is or what red is on the garment itself? This is actually an issue that most designers have. When we translate from the digital world into the physical world, there's always something lost in translation. So how do we overcome that? How do we make sure that when we want an olive green jogger, and we can see it perfectly on our MacBook, how do we make sure that that green is translated correctly into the finished garment? Well, on today's episode, we give you guys a surprising but simple and effective way to make sure that every single color that you have digitally is represented as accurately as possible on your finished garment. What's up, design family, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. For those of you with a short attention span, the too long didn't read answer to this question of how to accurately represent color on garments is to use a certified color system. The most well-known one that we see out in the market is the Pantone color system. Pantone was created in 1963 and it comes from the term Pantone, which means all colors. And this is a simple yet extremely effective solution to allow designers to combine and to formalize what each color is and how it's represented. So think about this. The color yellow, whether the color yellow is printed on a newspaper or it's printed on a laminated or a glossy cardstock, that same yellow will have a different appearance based on its hue, its saturation, its glossiness, its luminance. In order to actually overcome that issue, Pantone came in and they took those colors. They took a simple color, and what they did was they tested that color in a variety of different formats on different materials with different printing methods to make sure that their Pantone 395C, whatever it is represented the same depending on the different types of materials that it's being printed on. So they came up with a formalized or a globalized color system where they took that same color and they made sure that it was represented in the same way between item to item. Understanding that there's a fundamental issue with accurately representing colors consistently across a variety of different media, we end up with a situation where Pantone gives us a bunch of different color guides, right? Each of these color guides has a specific printing application that it's being used on. So some of the most popular Pantone color guides are the Pantone Solid Coated. Then we have the Pantone Solid Uncoated. We also have the Pantone TCX, we have Pantone Neons, Pantone Polyester, so on and so forth. Each of these guides has a set of different colors. So a Pantone yellow, right, a specific shade of yellow, you're able to actually take that yellow from the solid coated, which is used for a specific set of items, whether it's printing on cardstock, packaging, so on and so forth. And you're able to take that yellow and you're able to cross-reference that yellow with that from a solid uncoated. So you're able to see that yellow. If I specify that specific code of yellow, how will it look like if I ended up printing it on this type of product or this type of fabric? So from there, you're able to actually see in front of your eyes this color, how it translates onto this color or this fabric. The same is true with textiles. Pantone actually has specific code books that are meant for textiles. They actually have the TCX, the polyester, and the neons. These are the most popular ones that are used on textiles. TCX predominantly is used for most fabrics. Polyesters is a new type of book that they're using specifically on polyester-based garments. Why is that important? When it comes to TCX, this is traditionally used in cotton. Cotton tends to take the color and absorb it, and the color ends up being a little bit more desaturated and a little bit darker in color versus polyester. Polyester has a lot more luminance, vibrancy. So that same yellow that we see on cottons will tend to appear a lot more saturated, a lot lighter on Pantone polyesters. So you're able to actually go in beforehand and make sure that this red that you're trying to put into your collection, you're able to see beforehand how it's going to be represented on the different fabrics. And you're able to say, okay, maybe for the polyesters, I want a shade or two lighter. And because you're able to see that in front of your face, you're able to see that before your eyes, you're able to make that decision beforehand, before actually going ahead and committing into your production or into actually dyeing the fabric. So let's just say you guys wanted to get started with designing with Pantone colors today. What are these steps that you can take? Well, number one, go into the App Store, whether you're on Android or iOS, and download the Pantone app. The Pantone app immediately gives you guys access to all of the code books. Yes, it is digital here, so you will need a physical component depending on what your budget is, but you'll get access to the app. From the app itself, you're able to access the solid coded, the solid uncoded, the CMYK, the TCX, depending on the code book you need. And you can actually research more into which code book you'll need. But for fashion designers, know TCX, neons, and polyester is where you're going to want to be. Then you're able to actually grab an image from the internet. Let's just say you have an image that you like, and you like the olive green, but you're unsure of how that olive green translates into the TCX booklet. Either you can do a manual sort of configuration, right? You can see the green and then you can go through all of your greens and manually try to match it. Or you can use Pantone's color matching system. It'll take that image, specify or analyze the RGB, and it'll give you one or two options from the TCX booklet that are the closest possible to that. From there, you have the TCX code. If you have access to the physical booklet, right? Because right now we're still seeing the TCX on a digital screen, which, yes, although more accurate than other situations, you still will want to see this thing on a piece of fabric. You'll be able to actually purchase the Pantone TCX booklet, which has all of the colors, one by one, from every single shade that you'll need, and you're able to see what that fabric will look like in real life and make the decision on the spot. I mentioned a couple times that we have different Pantone booklets. I'll run you guys through them one by one and give you a specific use case scenario for each. The first one, we have the Pantone solid coated. The solid coated can definitely be used on all types of packaging, and usually with solid coated you end up with colors with more vibrancy and more saturation versus the solid uncoated. Look at it this way. You can have a piece of cardboard or a cardstock that has a lamination finish on it, right? That lamination finish is going to add a little bit more gloss. It's going to add more saturation to the actual piece versus the uncoated. There, you're gonna have a more desaturated and a lighter finish to the color. So you'll notice when you take a solid coated color and an uncoated color, their hues are the same, but the saturation luminance are different. So there you can actually make an accurate translation of how your product is gonna look like, whether it's coated or uncoated. Then we move into TCX. TCX, again, is taking these core colors and translating them onto cotton fabrics. This is pretty much going to be perfect for 95% of your fashion needs. But if you have a color that is especially vibrant or bright, you can go for the neons booklet. Because Pantone colors tend to have a little bit of limitation in terms of how bright and vibrant they be, Pantone actually went ahead and created these specified or specialized neon colors specifically for use on garments. And then we have our polyesters booklet. Polyester, again, is a type of fabric that takes color extremely well. So polyester is a great middle ground between the neons booklet and the TCX booklet. But again, make sure you're only using the Pantone polyester booklet if you're working with polyester garments. One of the questions that we definitely need to answer before we wrap up this video is, well, what is the use of our Pantone color system if we already have a printing system that's universal? Well, what is that system? Well, it is CMYK. And although all printers do use CMYK, where you're mixing your cyan color, your magenta colors, your yellow colors, and your black, and this mixture of colors is what is used to make the wide spectrum of colors that we actually have printed. What is the limitation here? Again, it comes into consistency, right? The CMYK mixture from HP might be different from the CMYK mixture or how the printer from another company mixes it. So we still have a little bit of that issue with how different printers are actually representing the same CMYK code. Pantone in general formalizes all of that and actually makes sure that everything across the entire spectrum is as identical as possible. So Pantone in general is, if you want to make sure that your color is being represented as accurately as possible, as consistently as possible, and you're able to make sure that your design here is being translated correctly, whether it's in your factory in China or with your design team in another country, you have that consistency, that homogeneous look to your garments. This is where you want to be. So make sure you're investing into your Pantone workbook and your Pantone workflow. Well guys, that is it. That is a wrap on this episode. To recap quickly, Pantone is going to be your best possible option to maintain consistency and accuracy across your colors. If you want to make sure that the digital green that you're representing in your designs on your MacBook is going to be translated correctly into the finished garment, well, Pantone is going to be the best possible option for you. I'm curious to hear from you guys. Have you been using Pantone, or do you use any other type of color matching system? I know there are a ton on the market, so I'm curious to hear from you guys. Also, if you're interested in hopping on a one-on-one consultation call with me, let's just say you're looking to start your own brand, or you're a business in the fashion industry that is looking to scale and you're facing some problems, well, I can definitely help you out with that. So check the link in the description. I hold limited slots every single week, and I'd love to hop on a call with you guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.